What is going on, everyone? It is time to rank all 50 states here in 2022. Things have changed. We did this video like 3 years ago, and I gotta tell you, I was kind of surprised at what states got better and which ones dropped in the ranking. To do this ranking, we looked at where each state stands on crime, economy, healthcare, education, cost of living, taxes, and a few other metrics. Now in this video, I'm not gonna give you all the rankings for every single thing. That's just far too many numbers, and as we've learned, too many numbers or stats in a video erodes your brain, and then you just kind of glaze over in the middle of a video. Sort of like we all do when someone tries to explain a dream they had. All right, this is a long video, so let's just take a look. Number 50. The Pelican State, Louisiana. Louisiana has been in horrible shape since, I don't know, the Louisiana Purchase, I guess. And this year they slipped down to the number 50 spot. How does Louisiana get to number 50? Well, they rank 50th in crime, so they're the absolute worst. They're 48th in education and infrastructure. None of their stats is ranked below 42. 49, Arkansas. Arkansas is in bad shape in most of the state, just like I've said before. It's a little underrated because it does have some incredible natural beauty, but any place that there's human beings in that state just about blows. They're ranked 49th in healthcare, okay? That's not great. And 48th in crime. Now, one thing I will tell you about healthcare, a lot of times when it's a state that has a lot of rural land, it's not the doctors or the hospitals or the nurses are bad. It's usually access, meaning they're so far away from any clinic or hospital, it really drops their mortality rates and all these other things. And in Arkansas's case, it's like old men are sitting on their porch going, you know, I've been having chest pains for 2 days, but I ain't driving into Little Rock to see a doctor. I think I'm just gonna die here on my porch while I whittle. 48, Mississippi. Surprise, surprise, they didn't make number 50. Moving on up, Mississippi. Mississippi is the absolute worst when it comes to healthcare. Their infrastructure is also one of the worst in the country. On top of that, they just have a horrible reputation. I mean, think about it. If you're not from the South and you're really not familiar with Mississippi, you're just stuck with the stereotypes you have in your head from old movies or stories or whatever. And that stereotype is usually this state is filled with a bunch of dudes that wear overalls and no shoes and they go fishing all day, which to me doesn't sound like a bad thing, but when you're doing that every day, I guess it is a bad thing. And that's what most of America thinks is happening in Mississippi. I mean, this is a state that whenever I talk bad about them, their only complaint is the way I pronounce Mississippi. Number 47, Alabama. Alabama is not really knocking it out of the park on much. Compared to some of the other states on this list, at least they rank in the 30s on some things. Way to go, Alabama. 46, Alaska. Alaska is, you know, it's just a little too remote and it's got a lot of problems and it's a hard life. I mean, cost of living's up there, again with the healthcare because of access, not the quality of doctors or nurses. When it comes to their economy, they're the worst in the nation right now. They're also like the second worst when it comes to crime, but they have such a small population that it's easy to do. But all that lands them at number 46. Number 45, New Mexico. Now, when you look at New Mexico, they've got a lot of horrible places to live. Albuquerque's gotten better over the last few years, and Santa Fe's a decent place. It's just they have a lot of little small towns and villages that just suck bad. There's a stat where they look at the opportunities a person has, and New Mexico is ranked 49th. And when it comes to education, they're dead last. Number 44, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's worst stat is their healthcare, and again, they just have a lot of people living out in the Oklahoma backwoods, not a lot of opportunity to hit the doctor unless it's something they really need. As we all know, preventative medicine is usually the best medicine. I live within a 10-minute drive of 3 hospitals, and to me, that's a pain to go have something checked out. There are places in this country where if you need to see a doctor, it might be an hour away, and if you need to actually get to a hospital, could be 2 to 3 hours away. Number 43, West Virginia. West Virginia has moved up on the list. They were, I think, 47th last time we did this list. And yeah, they've gotten a lot better. People actually started moving there. West Virginia was the 4th most moved to state in 2021. A lot of that has to do with remote workers. Remote workers can live anywhere. Why not live someplace cheap? And if West Virginia is anything, it's cheap. Now, one of the biggest problems they have is opportunity. There's not a lot of opportunity there. But if you're bringing a job there, that's not something you got to worry about. 42, Michigan. Michigan would be doing a lot better if they could get rid of Flint and Detroit. Those cities are so bad that it just brings the rest of the state down. And it's unfortunate. You have great cities like Grand Rapids and, Grand Rapids is only like their really, really good city right now. They got a lot of small towns that are decent, but as far as their cities go, Grand Rapids probably the best, as far as major cities go in Michigan. But businesses are moving to Michigan again, so their opportunity is in the top 10 right now. 41, Nevada. Outside of Reno and like Las Vegas metro area, there's not much to this state, except rocks and the surface of Mars, like I've said before. Their healthcare isn't the best, and when it comes to their opportunity, it's actually gotten worse over the last few years. A couple years ago, their opportunity was ranked 30th in the nation. Right now, it's like 47th. Number 40. Kentucky. Kentucky suffers from a little of what Mississippi has going on, and that's a bad reputation, brought on by a lot of stereotypes. I mean, most of the country thinks if you move to Kentucky, you sit on your porch with a corncob pipe and a shotgun filled with bird shot in case the tax collector comes. Kentucky, like Arkansas, doesn't matter what's going on in the state, it's a beautiful state, and they got good people. It's just too bad, in my opinion, they have a long history of really bad politicians and state leaders. 39, Indiana. Indiana's kind of in the middle here almost. I mean, a lot of their stats are in the 30s. The only thing that they have that's ranked in the 40s is their natural environment. They're not a very green state. They're starting to be. They're bringing in more and more wind farms, but a majority of the place is, toxins from different farms going into the creeks and stuff that they're still trying to clean up. And they only have one real popular city, which is Fort Wayne. I mean, they got big cities and stuff, but popular for people that want to move there. 38, Ohio. Ohio is climbing up the ladder here. They're getting a little bit better, and I think if I do this list in 2 or 3 years, they'll be into the top 20 at least. They've got a lot of jobs coming back to Ohio. They lost a lot in the 80s and the 90s, 70s actually too, but a lot of jobs are coming back to Ohio. That's good news for this state. 37, New Jersey. New Jersey doesn't have a lot wrong with it other than the cost of living, their cities blow, and they tax these people to no end. The rural parts of New Jersey are pretty decent. I've been to quite a few small towns there, and I like them. It's just when you start getting into the cities, it gets bad. Trenton, Camden, Newark, Hackensack. Really, Hackensack's not that bad. I just wanted to say it. Love the name of that city. Their cost of living's pretty bad, but they don't have bad crime in Hackensack. That's one of the bright spots when it comes to cities in New Jersey. Number 36, New York. That's right. The Empire State shows up at number 36. It's kind of medium in a lot of different things, but stats from New York City really drag down the rest of the state. I mean, New York City's cost of living is through the roof. Along with its crime's not as bad as it once was, but a lot of their stats are just dragging down the whole state of New York. Now, if you took New York City and made it its own thing, New York State by itself would not be that bad of a place. It gets cold and they've got some rundown cities just like every place else, but they got jobs, they got good people, and they got a lot of nice land. 35, Missouri. Yeah, there's nothing really going on in Missouri other than Lake of the Ozarks, which I love. They come in 45th when it comes to crime, and really most of those numbers come from Kansas City and St. Louis, so I mean Springfield's no gem either. But 34, South Carolina. South Carolina is not a bad state to live, especially if you're living in the low country, which is like Charleston, Hilton Head, Bluffton. Those are all great places to live. They have some other areas in the Greenville metro area along with Columbia that are decent and good places to live and getting better. So in the future, I'm sure the whole state will be moving up on the list. They just have a lot of small towns that you should avoid at all costs. Number 33, Arizona. Arizona's on this list because it's getting a little too crowded. They're ranked 46 in education. Now that deals with the high school on down. Their colleges are usually pretty decent. And in recent years, their infrastructure's taken a hit. I mean, they've had too many people move in, and it's hard for a state and local government to keep up with that kind of influx of people. Texas is going through the same thing right now. 32, California. California, it's got a lot of bad, but they still have one of the best economies in the country, actually in the world. They have some of the highest paying jobs. Their cost of living's too high. They got a serious homeless problem. They got great weather and plenty of things to do, but can you afford to do all those things if you live here? I asked our subscribers what they thought was the best state and what they thought the worst state was. This comment explains California perfectly. They're the best and they're the worst at the same time. 31, Wyoming. Wyoming's another state that suffers from wide open land syndrome, which gives you bad health care. And that's just because of access. It's hard to get to a doctor when you're living in the Wyoming outback. Number 30, Illinois. Illinois is another state that gets drugged down by one city, and that's Chicago. I mean, they have some other places, like East St. Louis, that ain't helping them, but yeah, Illinois would be doing a lot better if they could just get rid of their cities. 29, Rhode Island. Rhode Island, I think in the future is going to be getting worse, and this is because a lot of people are starting to move there. In 2021, the little state of Rhode Island was number 10 on the most moved to state list for 2021. Rhode Island is ranked 49th in infrastructure. One thing to keep in mind, infrastructure also counts for schools, not just roads and bridges. It's schools, hospitals. That's all part of infrastructure. And when you have a bunch of people moving in and you're not ready for it, your infrastructure takes a hit. 28, Montana. Remember everything I said about Wyoming? Same thing in Montana. 27, Texas. Texas, for a long time, has had a lot of good things going for it. But I think in the last couple years, all those good things are catching up with them. Like I've said in other videos, they're a victim of their own popularity. Too many people are moving there. Their infrastructure's suffering. Their prices are going up. The heyday of Texas, I think, ended like 2 years ago. Is Texas a bad state to move to? Absolutely not. In my opinion, I think it's still one of the best places to move to when you compare it to other states. I also think it's number one when you look at the big four: New York, Florida, California, and Texas. I always see those as the big four states. I still think they're number 1 or 2. 26, Maine. Maine just has a lot of open land. It's really cold. They are one of the safest states in the union. They're actually number 2 when it comes to crime, but a lot of their other stats are in the mid-20s to 30s. 25, Tennessee. A couple years ago, 25 was a dream for Tennessee. They weren't doing that good. They're getting a lot better, and here they are, the middle of the pack. I honestly think if we do this again in 2 or 3 years, they're going to move into the top 20 easily. 24, Kansas. Kansas is like the poster child for average and normal in the United States. All their stats are middle of the road, just average. Their cost of living and housing is still pretty cheap though, so get in now. 23, Hawaii. Hawaii gets killed by cost of living. When it comes to healthcare, they're actually ranked the best in the nation. And to top that off, they're number 1 when it comes to natural environment. Everything else is kind of middle of the road for them, other than economy and cost of living, where they're ranked 46th. Number 22, Oregon. Oregon is a great state if you eliminate Portland. Portland's kind of a nightmare right now, as we all know, with the homeless and the sporadic gunfire we have these days, along with the possibility of a riot or a protest. Here in Oregon, especially in Portland, we kind of look at riots and protests sort of how Florida looks at hurricanes. It's just this thing that could happen at any time. What are you going to do? Oregon wins when it comes to natural environment and infrastructure. They actually have the second best infrastructure in the United States. Most of their other stats are in the teens. 21, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania does really good when it comes to their healthcare, their natural environment, and their economy. They drop the ball on a lot of different things, but their cost of living through most of the state is really good. If you watch this channel long enough, you know I'm a big fan of Pennsylvania. I love this state. It's beautiful. Number 20, Delaware. Delaware has a disadvantage, and it's called Wilmington. Wilmington is like one of the worst cities in the United States nobody really knows is a bad city. You know, when you're thinking bad cities, you're thinking, Chicago, Detroit, Camden, New Jersey, East St. Louis. Nobody ever thinks Wilmington is that bad. Nobody ever brings it up, but it's not great. Their worst stat is crime, and they're ranked 39th on that. Everything else is in the teens and 20s, and a lot of that crime comes from Wilmington. Number 19, Connecticut. Like I've said before, Connecticut is a really weird place in so many different ways. I mean, they have some of the worst small towns and some of the best small towns at the same time. Their cities aren't great, and these people have an obsession with Dunkin' Donuts. They even have a minor league baseball stadium called Dunkin' Donuts Park, and if you want to know who plays there, well, that's the AA minor league baseball Yard Goats. Yeah, they're called the Yard Goats. Connecticut does have some really great things besides the Yard Goats. They're ranked 3rd in healthcare and 6th in education. Infrastructure and opportunity are in the 40s, but they got some nice numbers everywhere else. Number 18, Maryland. Maryland is another state that I think will move up on this list in coming years. I mean, they've gotten better. Baltimore, which brings them down in most cases, has slowly been getting better over the last 4 or 5 years. So we'll see how they look in a couple more years from now. 17, Colorado. Colorado used to be a lot better, but they're kind of moving down the list, and I think that's because they got too many people living there now. Denver's a little too crowded. Colorado Springs is getting a little too crowded. John Denver died over 2 decades ago and, quit singing songs about him. But when it comes to education, they're ranked 5th, and when it comes to economy, they're number 2 in the country. Number 16, Georgia. The Peach State is doing better than it did in past videos. I mean, their biggest knock right now is they have some rural communities that are really backwoods, and Atlanta's getting a little too crowded. They got a lot of nice places in Georgia. Sadly, their healthcare is ranked 43rd, but everything else is like 11, 12, 13, that area. Number 15, North Dakota. When they started getting oil out of the ground in North Dakota some years back, it did a lot for the state as far as infrastructure and things like that. Well, the oil goes up and down, and their economy kind of fluctuates with it now. But infrastructure is their best stat in North Dakota, and a lot of it has to come with the oil industry. They're ranked 4th when it comes to infrastructure. Natural environment is 8th. Everything else is in the 20s. 14, Iowa. Iowa's biggest problem is boredom, but they come in first when it comes to opportunity. There's a lot of jobs in Iowa and it's still relatively cheap, so that's good. If you want to raise a family, there's a hell of a lot worse states. Number 13, South Dakota. South Dakota is a nice state to live. I mean, the natural environment is amazing. Their crime's a little higher ranked than I would have expected. They're 35th. Their hospitals are 29th, but everything else is like 14, and their fiscal stability, they're second. Not bad. Number 12, North Carolina. There's a reason North Carolina is one of the most moved to states for quite some time now. You know, they're not always in the top 10, but they're always right around number 10, 11, 12, 9, 8, something like that. Their economy is ranked 17th in the nation. Their education is number 7. Nothing else they have. I mean, their absolute worst thing is healthcare, and that's number 30. Not bad. Number 11, Vermont. Vermont is one of my favorite states, and if it was just going off my opinion, I would have put them at number 2 or 3. Their highest marks are natural environment, number 9. Their crime is number 3. They're the 3rd best in the nation. That is not bad. Education's 15th, and their healthcare is 18th. Not a bad state to live in. You just got to deal with the cold occasionally. And when I say occasionally, I mean like 5 months out of the year, maybe. That's not that bad. Probably good 3 months. It's pretty cold in Vermont. Number 10, Florida. Florida's, very interesting state. They've got a lot of good things going for them. Their education is number 3. I think they're tied with someone else. Their economy is number 8. Their fiscal stability is number 8. Their absolute worst thing is their healthcare, and that's ranked 25th. They have a lot of areas that still have reasonably priced land, too. And in a few videos recently, I've talked about how Tampa is probably one of the better cities in the United States right now. That one's more my opinion than statistically, but I think it's a very underrated city, and I think it's one of the better ones we've got going for the next few years at least. Number 9, Idaho. Again, there's a lot of reasons this is a very moved to state. They kind of slowed down around 19 or 20, but 2021, they got back into the top 5. The Gem State is ranked 3rd when it comes to economy. They're ranked 10th in both crime and infrastructure. Their education's their worst thing, 29th. Number 8, Virginia. Virginia is a sleeper, I think. Not a lot of people realize how many people are actually moving to Virginia. It's become more and more popular in recent years. It was big in the 90s, and it kind of cooled off. And now in recent years, a lot of people have been moving there again. They're doing a lot of things right in Virginia. They're ranked 8th when it comes to opportunity, 9th when it comes to crime, healthcare 12th, education 12th, economy 13th. All their numbers are pretty good. The worst thing they have is their infrastructure, which is 39th. Number 7, Massachusetts. Now, I've been saying I'm not going to give you a bunch of stats, but when we get to Massachusetts, I got to tell you this. Healthcare, 2nd. Education, 2nd. Economy, 5th. Now, their infrastructure is 42nd, which is not great, but then you go to crime, 4th. Natural environment, 4th. Those are solid numbers. You could have a couple 50s in there and still be in the top 10. Number 6, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's another state that has a lot of really good stats. Healthcare, they're 15th. Education, they come in 8th. Opportunity, 9th. Natural environment, 17th. They have some good numbers in Wisconsin, but they're also so high on this list because it is one of the best states for families. They got a really good reputation there. Milwaukee's their only negative, and it's really not as bad as some of the worst places in this country. But for Wisconsin, it's bad. Compare it to Detroit or Chicago, it's like downtown Disney. Number 5, Nebraska. Nebraska has a lot of the things Wisconsin has going, and it's just like Iowa, a little bit better. Their highest marks are education, infrastructure, and natural environment. Everything else, other than crime, which is 31st, is in the low 20s. Number 4, Minnesota. Minnesota is another one of these states that has a bad reputation, and really it's things that have been going on there in recent years. Statistically, Minnesota's in good shape. They don't have anything in the 30s. Nothing in Minnesota is ranked above 17, which is their education. Everything else is below that. Opportunity's number 2. And stop typing. We all know that you have to shovel snow in Minnesota quite often. That always sucks. So pack on a couple pounds and get a nice jacket and move to Minnesota. Number 3, New Hampshire. New Hampshire and Vermont are always very similar. New Hampshire's just a little bit better this time around. They're right up there with Vermont and Maine when it comes to crime. Actually, New Hampshire's ranked the best in the nation. They're 2nd when it comes to natural environment. 3rd for opportunity. Who saw that one coming? Nobody ever thinks about moving to New Hampshire to start a new career or something. Healthcare 13, education 13, economy 11th. Not bad numbers, New Hampshire. Number 2, Utah. Yes, Utah is a great state to live. And a lot of people have been picking up on this in recent years, and it's getting more and more popular. But they have all the right stats in all the right places. I'd probably never move there. I'm not into the desert type landscapes they have, which I know they have mountains and they have other things, but a majority of the state is like a freaking desert. Beautiful, but just not my type of thing. They have the best economy. Their crime is 8th in the nation, which isn't bad. Infrastructure's 5th. Healthcare, they rank 11th. And their education, they're ranked 10th. On top of all that good news, for the most part, their real estate is very reasonable. Not sure how much longer that's going to be, but it's still reasonable. And that's compared to the rest of the country. If you're looking at houses in Utah right now and you're working part-time at Taco Bell, sure, it's not reasonable to you, but compared to the averages, it's reasonable. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. I would really love it if you went over there and subscribed, watch some videos, give some videos big thumbs up. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Washington State. That is right, Washington State is the best state to live in right now. And it's just not me saying that. A lot of different lists have Washington at number 1. Listen to where they ranked. Across the board, healthcare 8, education 4th, economy 4th, infrastructure 3rd, opportunities their worst one, and that's 25th. Crime and correction 19, and natural environment they're 15th. Those are not bad numbers. They also don't have a state income tax, which draws a lot of people in, especially retirees. You just got to deal with the rain and the cold, and it's a great state. It's a beautiful state. It's a lot like Oregon with half the problems. Every time I bring up Washington as a bad state, I get some comments and even some emails from, I think it's one guy that just has this serious problem with Washington and thinks I'm lying whenever I say anything good about it. And I honestly just think he's got some issues going on with the state of Washington, but all of Washington's statistics are below average in most cases. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.